My name is Alexis, and I'm going to be going over the introduction for the case study of do men and women speak the same language. So when it comes to languages, you think of English, Spanish, French, Creole, different languages that are spoken widely around the United States and around the world as a whole. But in this case, language is really just referring to how people communicate with others and how they perceive it, receive it, how they understand. And we're going to be talking about men and women. Do they speak the same language? Well, men and women are completely different creatures. Men and women process things differently, they act differently, they think differently, and they definitely speak differently. A man can say no and mean no. A woman can say no and mean yes. That's just because that's how a woman is compared to how a man is. Men are more straight to the point, a little more aggressive when they talk. They say what they mean. A woman, they tend to beat around the bush more. They're more emotional. They overthink everything, and we don't necessarily mean what we say. Communication is just really the imparting of or exchanging of information and views. So to be able to speak the same language, that means people are communicating. Men and women do not speak the same language, and that's why it's very hard for a man and a woman to communicate. If you ever see the typical couple communicating, it sounds like arguing. A woman thinks a man's not listening, and a man thinks that a woman's complaining. That's because we're not trying to understand. We don't understand their language, and everybody's language is not the same. So there's not a general language for women, there's not a general language for men. There's some men who will go above and beyond and say how they feel whenever they feel, but there are most men that they're not going to put energy into something that they don't really feel that needs to be said. They'll probably ignore it, let it go. It is what it is. They're not going to make a big deal about it. But you have women, on the other hand, typically they're going to say what they need to say. They're going to get it off their chest. They're going to constantly remind you and constantly tell you whatever it is they're feeling, thinking at that moment. If that's all day, 24/7, they're going to do that. But then you have some women who won't say anything. That they may say something here or there. They might ignore it, just like men and women. Some men and women have the same tendencies as the opposite gender, and it has nothing, I personally believe, it has nothing to do with gender. It's just that person's language. Just like there's love languages. Some men like the love language, they like service, they like people to do things for them. There's some women who don't who's more affectionate. They just need affection, they need to feel affection. But language plays a very big role, and this also happens in the workplace environment. Some men, the way they speak can come off offensive, to a woman. Some women, the way they speak can come off aggravating to a man, can come off like, in a way that it's like they're not really going to pay them too much attention, though they're just being a woman. But really, being that, we all don't speak the same language, I don't even think it has anything necessarily to do with a man or a woman. We all speak different languages. But if you're to ask the question, do men and women speak the same language? No, they do not speak the same language. You would have to sit down with that man or that woman to understand, how they process things, what they think about this, what they think about that, how do they feel about this. What do you feel when you hear this, or what do you mean when you say that? It's different for everybody. So really, language is very important, because language is, again, like I was saying before, is going to help you be able to communicate, be able to understand exactly what you want to get across, and understand, like I was saying, what other people are saying.